Victoria Sterling couldn't believe her eyes. Standing in the parking lot of Riverside Academy, Chicago's most elite private school, was a scene that made her blood run cold. A young child, maybe 5 years old, was sprinting across the pavement shouting, "Dad! Dad!" to a man in maintenance worker clothing standing beside an expensive luxury vehicle. The man was Marcus Thompson, someone she recognized instantly, the custodian who had worked overnight shifts at her family's corporation. But that wasn't what shocked her most. The child racing toward him was wearing Riverside Academy's distinctive uniform, the same prestigious institution where tuition exceeded $30,000 annually. Victoria's mind raced back 5 years to that stormy December evening at a roadside service station. She had been desperate, panicked, and facing a crisis that threatened to unravel her carefully constructed life. Marcus had been there by chance, and in a moment of absolute desperation, she had thrust an infant into his arms with barely a word of explanation before fleeing into the night. She was the daughter of a real estate magnate worth hundreds of millions. Her engagement to someone from an equally powerful family was imminent. A child, especially one whose father was a working-class employee, would have destroyed everything. So she had made what she believed was the only choice available. Marcus had been virtually invisible to her before that night. He was simply another employee who maintained the offices after hours. But one evening, when she'd stayed late dealing with family pressures and relationship conflicts, he'd offer her unexpected kindness, a gesture that led to an encounter neither of them planned. Now, watching the boy embrace Marcus with pure joy, Victoria felt disoriented. Everything about the scene contradicted what should have been possible. The child appeared healthy, happy, and well cared for. Marcus himself seemed transformed. There was a confidence in his bearing that hadn't existed before. "Great job on your science project, buddy," Marcus said, lifting the child high. "Your grandmother can't wait to hear about it." Grandmother. Victoria remembered that Marcus had been caring for his ill mother, which was why he'd worked nights despite having education and skills that should have led elsewhere. How could they possibly afford this school? How had everything she'd expected to happen, struggle, hardship, perhaps even resentment, apparently not occurred? As Marcus and the boy walked toward the vehicle hand in hand, Marcus paused. His gaze swept the parking area and, for one brief moment, locked directly onto where Victoria stood, partially concealed. The expression on his face wasn't surprise or shock. It was something far more unsettling, the look of someone who had been anticipating exactly this moment. What could a single parent working menial jobs possibly have done to not just survive, but apparently thrive? The answer would shake Victoria's entire world. Sleep became impossible for Victoria. The images replayed endlessly. The happy child, the expensive car, the prestigious school uniform. None of it made sense. A custodian earned perhaps $3,000 monthly. The academy's tuition alone would consume an entire year's salary. There had to be an explanation. 3 days of obsessing led her to hire a private investigator named Raymond Cross. "I need comprehensive information on Marcus Thompson," she told him, sliding an envelope across his desk. "Employment history, financial records, property ownership, everything you can legally obtain." When Raymond returned 10 days later, the folder he placed before her seemed impossibly thick. "This isn't what you're expecting," he warned. Marcus Thompson hadn't worked as a custodian in over 3 years. He now owned TechSecure Consulting, a cybersecurity firm specializing in digital protection for corporations and high-net-worth individuals. Last year's revenue, nearly $3 million. He resided in an upscale neighborhood in a home valued at over $800,000. His vehicle, investment accounts, and the education fund established for his son painted a picture of substantial success. "That's impossible," Victoria whispered. He was cleaning floors. Raymond nodded. He also held a degree in computer science from a prestigious university. He worked maintenance positions while caring for his terminally ill mother. After her passing 2 years ago, he used a modest inheritance as startup capital. He built the company from nothing through expertise and determination. The revelation struck Victoria like a physical blow. She had completely misjudged him, dismissed him as someone without ambition or capability. The truth was far different. "There's something else," Raymond continued carefully. During the first 2 years after you left with the child, he made numerous attempts to contact you. Letters, phone calls, messages through your company, all seeking to establish formal arrangements for co-parenting and financial responsibility. Victoria's throat tightened. I never received anything. Because you instructed your entire staff to filter out what you called inappropriate contacts, Raymond explained. Your executive assistant followed those instructions precisely. Every communication from Marcus was blocked. When his attorney tried to establish dialogue, your legal team responded with cease and desist threats. The memory surfaced slowly, sickeningly. She had indeed given those orders. Anyone from her past situation was to be prevented from reaching her. She wanted to completely erase that chapter of her life. He eventually stopped trying, Raymond said. He raised a boy completely alone for those initial years. Neighbors report seeing him walking the streets at 3 a.m. because the baby wouldn't sleep. He worked multiple jobs during the day, studied programming at night, and managed childcare around the clock. Victoria felt something unfamiliar stirring, genuine shame, but it quickly transformed into something else. Anger. Marcus had succeeded too well. Someone in his position should have struggled, should have needed her help. His prosperity felt like a personal affront. I want you to dig deeper, she instructed Raymond. Find out if there's anything questionable about his business. No one rises that quickly without cutting corners. Raymond's expression shifted to something resembling disappointment. Miss Sterling, I can assure you the company is completely legitimate. His client list includes banks, hospitals, and law firms, all with transparent, documented contracts. He's respected in his field and mentors other entrepreneurs. But Victoria wasn't listening. In her mind, Marcus's success had concealed something improper. She couldn't accept that he had built something impressive through his own merit, while she had expected him to fail. What Victoria didn't realize was that every search Raymond conducted, every database he accessed, every inquiry he made triggered alerts in sophisticated monitoring systems. Marcus, as a digital security specialist, had protected his family's information with the same tools he used to protect corporate clients. He knew about Victoria's investigation almost from the moment it began. And Marcus had been preparing for this confrontation for 5 years, building not just a business, but an unassailable fortress of documentation that would protect everything he'd built. Marcus sat across from his wife, Elena, at their kitchen table after putting their son to bed. Elena was a physician, brilliant and compassionate, who had become the only mother the boy had ever truly known. She's investigating us, Marcus said, showing Elena the digital alerts on his tablet. Victoria Sterling hired a private investigator 2 weeks ago. She's looking for anything she can use against us. Elena's expression hardened. As a professional who had faced her own share of prejudice and assumptions throughout her medical career, she recognized a pattern immediately. She can't accept that you succeeded on your own merit. Exactly, Marcus confirmed. In her worldview, I should have been desperate and broken. She's searching for legality, fraud, anything to explain away my success. He retrieved a thick binder from his office, something he'd never shown Elena before. I documented everything, he explained. Every attempt I made to contact her, every letter returned unopened, every lawyer's threat. Elena paged through hundreds of meticulously organized documents. Certified mail receipts, phone logs, email printouts, recordings of conversations with assistants who'd been ordered to block all communication, financial records showing Marcus had paid every expense of the child alone. You tried to make this work, Elena said softly. You wanted her to be part of his life. I thought every child deserved both parents, Marcus admitted. I offered joint custody, support arrangements, scheduled visits. Anything reasonable. She responded by instructing her staff to treat me like a stalker. Her lawyers threatened harassment lawsuits if I continued trying to reach her. Elena found medical records, birthday photographs, school documents, all showing Marcus as the sole responsible party. 5 years of complete maternal absence, thoroughly documented. She abandoned him entirely, Elena said, and now she wants back in? Not to be his mother, Marcus corrected. To destroy what we've built. She can't tolerate that he's happy without her. At that moment, their son appeared at the top of the stairs in his pajamas. "Mom, can you read to me?" he called to Elena. Elena had been mom for 2 years since she and Marcus married. The boy had no memory of anyone else in that role. She hugged him close, feeling fiercely protective. "Pick your favorite book, sweetheart." While Elena took him upstairs, Marcus continued organizing his evidence. But he was doing more than filing paperwork. Using his professional expertise, he had compiled a comprehensive dossier on Victoria's own life over the past 5 years. Every failed relationship, every questionable decision, every moment of instability, all gathered from publicly available sources. Most damaging was a clear pattern. 3 serious relationships, each ending when the man discovered she had a child. In every instance, Victoria had chosen the relationship over any parental responsibility. "There's more," Marcus told Elena when she returned. He showed her current information about Victoria's latest relationship, with someone whose social media explicitly stated no children, no complications. "She doesn't want him back to be his mother," Elena said. "This is about control and ego. But here's what's different about us," Marcus said firmly. "We'll protect our family using truth. She's trying to attack us with lies and assumptions." Elena didn't hesitate. "Marcus, that child upstairs is my son, not biologically, but in every way that matters. I've been there for every fever, every achievement, every difficult moment. If she thinks she can take him from us, she severely underestimated who she's dealing with." Marcus had turned his life into a digital fortress. Every business contract was documented transparently. Every client payment was traceable. Every aspect of his success could withstand scrutiny. More importantly, he'd turned Victoria's investigation against her. Every search the private investigator conducted triggered alerts that told Marcus exactly what they were looking for. He remained consistently ahead of their efforts. He also had one final card to play, something about Victoria herself that would destroy any legal standing she might claim. Audio recordings of her conversations with the investigator, obtained completely legally through his security systems, revealed her true motivations with crystal clarity. But Marcus would only deploy his most devastating evidence if Victoria forced a confrontation that threatened his son's well-being. What she didn't know was that while she searched for non-existent crimes in his life, he held proof that could shatter her reputation permanently. Victoria's obsession finally pushed her too far. 6 weeks after beginning her investigation, she filed for joint custody, claiming she'd been emotionally manipulated into abandoning her son and was now prepared to be a proper mother. "She's done exactly what we anticipated," Marcus told Elena, showing her the court documents. "Now we can present everything." Patricia Chun, the attorney Marcus had quietly retained months earlier, smiled as she reviewed his evidence. "In 20 years of family law, I've never seen such comprehensive documentation of parental abandonment." Victoria had hired an expensive firm known for representing wealthy families. During her first meeting with her attorney, she painted herself as a young mother who'd been taken advantage of. "He manipulated me when I was vulnerable," she lied. "I was under family pressure, and he convinced me the child would be better with him." Her attorney, believing his client's version, prepared strategy around that narrative. But Marcus was multiple steps ahead. The first shock came during evidence discovery when Patricia presented 5 boxes of documentation covering every day of the past 5 years. Communication sent January 20th, 2020, Patricia read aloud. "Marcus Thompson requesting meeting to discuss custody and support arrangements. Status: return unopened from Ms. Sterling's standing orders." Victoria's attorney tried to object, but Patricia continued relentlessly through 47 documented contact attempts, each blocked by Victoria's explicit instructions. Then came the recordings. Marcus's security systems had legally captured Victoria's conversations with her investigator. "Find something I can use against him," Victoria's voice echoed in the courtroom. "There must be fraud somewhere. Nobody succeeds like this without cheating." The judge's expression grew increasingly severe. "Ms. Sterling, can you explain why you were conducting investigations instead of simply contacting your son's father directly about custody?" But Marcus had saved the most devastating evidence for last. Financial documents showed Victoria had provided the child's personal information, including his social security number. to a man she'd been dating who had attempted identity fraud. "Your Honor," Patricia stated clearly, "Miss Sterling endangered this child's financial security by giving his information to someone with a criminal background." Victoria stood desperately. "I didn't know. He deceived me." "You were deceived?" The judge interrupted coldly. "Or were you attempting to use someone to attack the father who actually raised this child? A father who, according to everything presented here, provided exemplary care while you refused all contact." Marcus finally spoke, his voice controlled but powerful. "For 5 years, I offered countless opportunities for her to be part of our son's life. She consciously rejected everyone. My son now has a loving mother who's been present for every important moment. He's thriving, secure, and happy." He looked directly at Victoria. "You don't want to be his mother. You want to prove you can control him when it's convenient for you. That's not love, it's narcissism." The judge's decision was absolute, based on overwhelming evidence of voluntary abandonment and subsequent behavior endangering the child's well-being. The custody petition is permanently denied. Furthermore, Miss Sterling is ordered to have no future contact with the child or his family. Victoria collapsed, sobbing. Her wealthy family, present in the courtroom, watched in horror as her secrets became public. Her current boyfriend had already ended things via text. Outside the courthouse, Marcus provided reporters with copies of all public documents. By evening, the story dominated local news. Wealthy heiress attempts to destroy family she abandoned. Victoria's prized social reputation evaporated overnight, but Marcus hadn't acted from revenge. Every move had been calculated to protect his son from someone who viewed children as possessions to control at whim. While Victoria faced social exile and reputational ruin, Marcus returned home to a child who knew only love, stability, and security. But the story's final chapter would prove that the best revenge isn't destruction. It's building something so strong that the person who caused pain becomes completely irrelevant. 3 weeks after the court decision, Victoria discovered that Marcus had donated $100,000 to a foundation supporting single parents. The donation was made publicly in honor of all children who deserve families that choose to stay. 2 years passed. Marcus watched his now 7-year-old son present a school project about real-life heroes, an essay describing how his dad built a successful business while helping other families protect themselves. TechSecure Consulting had grown by 400% after the case became public. Companies wanted to work with a father who'd stood up to wealth and privilege, making Marcus a prominent figure in digital family security services. The boy was now attending an even more prestigious academy, had a fully funded college account, and most importantly, never doubted he was completely loved. Elena was 3 months pregnant. Their son had specifically requested to help choose his baby sibling's name, saying he wanted someone who's truly part of our family from the very beginning. Victoria, meanwhile, lived in a modest apartment after losing her family inheritance. Her conservative family had disowned her following the public scandal. 3 relationships had ended when men discovered her history. She now worked in an anonymous administrative position, invisible and irrelevant. She attempted to contact Marcus once more by email, asking for just a photograph to see how the child was doing. The response was automatic. "This address does not accept messages from block senders." Marcus never replied because his son never asked about her. For the boy, family meant the people who were present for celebrations, challenges, nightmares, and dreams. "Dad," his son said one evening, "my teacher asked if I missed my biological mother. I told her you can't miss someone who was never there, right?" Marcus smiled, embracing his child. Family isn't about DNA, buddy. It's about who chooses to stay when things get difficult. Marcus's true victory wasn't destroying Victoria. It was building a family so solid that she became completely unnecessary. While she wasted energy trying to reclaim what she'd abandoned, he invested love in those who genuinely mattered. 3 years later, Marcus stood at his daughter's first birthday celebration. His son, now 8, was helping his little sister open presents while Elena laughed at their antics. Their home was filled with extended family, friends, and colleagues, all people who'd been present throughout their journey. Someone asked Marcus if he ever regretted that difficult night 5 years ago when everything changed. He looked around at his family. built not on biology or obligation, but on choice, commitment, and unconditional love. Regret, Marcus said thoughtfully, that night gave me the greatest gift of my life. It showed me that family isn't something you're born into. It's something you build with people who choose to stay. Victoria had planted abandonment and reaped irrelevance. Marcus had sown presence and reaped something eternal. And that, in the end, was the only revenge that truly mattered. The success of the family built on genuine love.